Chapter 9 of Wyatt's Hurricane book titled In the Eye of Hurricane. And it goes like this. After Hurricane Mabel first hit, Wyatt, Causton, and Dawson stood on top of the hill and looked down over the city. The floodwaters had already receded a bit, and they could see that only a few buildings were still standing. They walked down the muddy road to Fable's headquarters. When they were walking there, they saw hundreds of dead, including innocent people killed by the hurricane and also by the terrible war waged by Cerberus and Fable soldiers. When they met Fable in his barracks, the officers were hurrying with the reports, and soon Fable called Wyatt to warn him to the data of some foreigners was recorded in the reports, from which Wyatt deduced that it was his beloved Julie, who was with Mrs. Warmington and old Ralston, who had survived the first half of the hurricane inside a cave. So after that, Wyatt decides to go in search of Julie to meet her again and drove as fast as he could through the muddy roads. Meanwhile, Mr. Warmington desperately decides to seek help on her own and leaves Julie and the older Ralston. Soon the wind began to blow fiercely, and there was a terrible threatening sound. Julie looked at them, and the tree was beginning to fall on them. "Watch out!" Julie yelled, but they could move fast enough on the muddy ground. The tree collapsed on them and the sky turned black. Final chapter of the book's Wyatt's Hurricane titled Peace at Last. For more than 10 hours, Hurricane Mabel was hitting the island. The hurricane uprooted plants and trees from the ground, destroyed buildings, caused the death of many people on the island of San Fernandez. But finally, the red wine began to fade. At that moment, helicopters from the United States Navy began to descend. Also on the island, the service of doctors, food, blankets was requested due to the destruction that Hurricane Mabel had unleashed. Dawson followed with Wyatt up the side of the valley. He was starved and hungry and covered in mud. He knew that Wyatt was desperate to find Julie. They pushed their way through the crowd and found Mrs. Warmington, who told them that they were in a cave further up, just below the top of the hill. Wyatt and Dawson hurried up the slope and saw Julie trapped under a tree, her legs broken, poor Ralston dead. Julie smiled as Wyatt wrapped his arms around her, and so Wyatt returned to the naval base, and he did not know that his name would be news in all the newspapers in the world. He would be a famous man, a man who saved the people of a city and stopped an army. Still, he felt a bit frustrated that too many people had died in the hurricane. David Wyatt was a young man, honest, intelligent, and hardworking, but he did not understand the ways of the world. And this is the end of this history.